What is going on, folks? Let's see. Let me fix this. So, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Soul of a Man. I'm back in this thing, and hope everybody's doing great going into the week and all of that good stuff. And gonna get this thing started. Gonna get this thing started, man, and let's go. So today we are talking about "You Are the One." What's going on, ma'am? So we are talking about we're talking today's topic is "You Are the One," because yesterday I saw a post by a young lady on social media. She said she's being harassed and bullied at the job, and I've been through that myself several times, and I understand now that all the spiritual. I If I would have knew then what I know now, that stuff wouldn't have affected me. And I saw one lady said that what you should do is that if you can kind of tolerate it for a while and get to the point where you start looking for other things and you find something, put your 2 weeks in or don't put it in. She said document it, write it down, date it, and take all of that, the list of everything that happened, names, all that stuff. Take it. I think she said take it to the EEOC, something like that. I think they're like the labor board or something. So you can file your complaint, and they could take it from there. So I think that's on a federal level, and they have lawyers and stuff that they can help you with. But I know that if you have if you have anything of a destiny or light inside of you, and especially if you're working with folks, I don't know if you're older, younger, whatever. You're on the job. People are jealous of you because I don't know. They think you're too much. They think you're whatever, and I'm not thinking anything. I'm just showing up, trying to do whatever, and every you see people that they have cliques and all of this other stuff. And, just a lot of stuff is just really uncalled for. But if you know, they know, trying to get this thing to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. Anyway, so they know, it's like they know who you are in the sense of it. They know who you are. They can feel, they can feel like there's something different about you, because the fact of the matter is, basically all you're doing is that you're showing up, and they're like, well, who do they think they are, but there's always somebody that's looking at you, and that they could just tell. They know, that there's something different about it. They know that you're anointed. They know that you're gifted. They know that your destiny. They know that that place is just a stopping point for you, and they know that their time there is probably going to be longer. You 6 years later, you have your bachelor's, your master's, all that stuff. You're thriving in life. You're traveling all over the world. You go back to that place, you see those same people doing the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but you know, they they know who they know they that nah, sorry. They know that they could tell that there's something different about you. It's always been something, just always been something different about you. You didn't you didn't go with the flow. You didn't roll with the click, whatever. You just they saw you as they saw you as an outcast, so to speak. They really and truly they saw you as an outcast, but you are you're a star. You're the star of the show. You've always been like that. You've always had this hidden potential inside of you. And don't forget to subscribe, folks, wherever you're watching. You've always had like this, you've always had this hidden potential like inside of you. And even when it was kind of like under lock and key. People always looked at you like you were different, or they looked at you like, who do you think you are? Because you would buck the system. I know I did. If I felt like something was wrong, or if I was being treated a certain way, I would, like, no, we're not gonna sit here and pretend like what's going on is normal, and what's going on is normal and natural. And I don't see the sexism, I don't see the racism and all of that stuff that's like I don't like I don't see all of this stuff that's going on around me. And I'm sure that I don't know what that young lady would, I'm sure she was going through something like that, where you can feel the tension. Like, you can literally walk in somewhere. You know how some places you can just walk in, you can just feel it, like you can cut it, like you can literally cut it with a knife and serve it up like slices of pie, so to speak. You really can. And I have been down those roads way too many times. Now it's like I don't, it at this point, it is what it is. Like, but I don't. The last time I went through that, I really didn't. It didn't bother me, because I knew that I wasn't going to be there that long, and I knew that that person. There was one manager in particular. I remember one day, I was working a security job, and so they had like something happened, and I don't know. You know how they have this emergency security have to go see what's going on. Anyway, so we went. I was with the supervisor I'm normally with, and this male supervisor. He comes, and I think we were trying to turn on a lawnmower for something, and she just told me to stick around. So he comes over there, and he's like, "Well, he's like, well, what is he doing here?" And the other supervisor was like, "Oh, well, he's just, I asked him to stick around, and blah 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 blah." So anyway, a few seconds later, he starts to choke. And when I tell, like, no, I didn't hit him. You know, it. Yeah, I know, but he just started to, like, he started to, like, choke, like, like somebody punched him in the throat. And he really, like, he was really, like, choking and gasping for air. So I say that to say this, be mindful, be mindful, how sometimes how you treat people, certain people. You never know, you never know who's, like, truly and really covered, really and truly. And he was just sitting there choking. I'm just sitting there, I'm looking at him. I'm smiling on the inside. Like, for real, I'm realize, like, that's what you get. Some you reap, really and truly, you reap what you sow. When people just want to go, and you know people people just want to go, whatever the 9 to 5 is. People just want to go do it, and make their money and just go home. That's it. I mean, like, seriously. But yeah, that was that, man. And at the end of that situation, one day, my last day, which I didn't know it was gonna be my last day. So it was a Monday. I guess we were getting into story times. So it was a Monday, and before that, the young lady, me and the man, the one of the managers, we were talking, and she was like, some of y'all that work here, y'all are really good. Y'all come in, y'all do your job, and I'm thankful for it. And she said, she was talking to the head manager. She was like, yeah, sometimes you got to use the people around you, blah blah blah. So because they had a very bad high turnover rate, and yeah, yeah. Anyway, the place was a what show. I'll just leave it at that. So the following week, I went in, and she was like, I was just grabbing my stuff, and she was like, "Wait, don't go over there yet. Um, She was like, you and this other guy, y'all are gonna switch and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wait. She was like, well, I said, well, wait, y'all gonna wait, so y'all gonna send me over to the place with the dude that, and I said, now you know what that situation is. Said, you know what that situation is. Said, that is not going to work. I tried to explain that to her, but you know how it is. I tried to explain. I said, that is not, like somebody said, that's not gonna work for me, brother. For real, I got creative control here. So, I was like, that's not gonna work. And she's like, oh, well, I don't have anybody else. That's gonna leave me. So I said, well, I'm not putting myself in a jacked up situation just so y'all can be happy. I said, I'm not doing. I said, if there's another way we could work this out, cool. But I'm not going over that period. And that's just because that wouldn't have ended well, man. That really wouldn't have ended well. But anyway, so I was in the break room. She came back and she was like, well, they just said you to go home. They don't call you over. Anyway, so I went home and so one of the guy was over one of the managers over the property. He called and he's yelling at me over the phone, and I'm just looking at the phone. I'm just cool. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And but right before I left that building, and right before I left, I distinctly heard, um, very quietly, very powerfully, I heard, people say they hear the voice. I heard the voice of God say, "Do you trust me?" And I said, "Of course." I said, "Yes," and I left. And I, and I didn't look back. And I get it, man. I get it. Some people say, "Well, look, don't quit your job till you got another." That sometimes that's easier said than done. We don't know everybody's situation. Some people are going through hello on these on these plantations. They really are, to the point. It'd be great if you had something else lined up bigger and better, and you had planned this out 6 months ago. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and that's just that's just naturally what that is. But these are the things that you go through, because when you're in those situations, certain people want you to react a certain kind of way. They want you to people really, they want you to react because they know you have way more to lose. They can look. They see your potential. They get because I could tell certain managers were very uneasy around me, and I wasn't there. I'm not here to take your job. I'm not. I'm just here to for this paycheck, and that's it. I don't want to. I don't want to be in this crappy place as it is now. And they, I don't know what that is, man. I mean, I was like, when I did management way when I was young and I didn't know anything about spirituality. I was in those shoes and all of that stuff, and you feel threatened in a certain way because of but you grow out of that, man. You do, and you know that this place is just a stepping stone and blah 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 blah, and you move on to you move on to greater things, and these people know that you have something inside of you that can usurp them, usurp their positions, and all of that stuff. It's getting to the point where you're a masterful you're a master spiritual chess player, and these people know they're playing by normal means. They only know what they only know what they know. They only can see what they only see what they can see. But you, my friends, you're like one of one, where you can see beyond, you can see in them, feel their emotions, what's to come, you know, when it's gonna, you already know, the questions to ask, it's gonna be a crap show, you know what I mean? Like if you ask like, oh well, what happened to the last person that was in this position? How long did they stay? Well, they they too long, and even the person before them, is you like the third, fourth person in the last, month or two, to fill this position. When you start to hear stuff like that, you already know, it's like you already know what it is. But just here to say, that you got you got greater things that you really and truly have greater things that are yet to come in. Let me move this thing here so it looks a little better. Yeah, so you really and truly have you have greater things that are yet to come, in your life. And that's just, that's just what it is. And that's, for me, that's just one of man, that's just one of many, many, many stories of stuff that I've seen, on these, especially when when you're not shucking and jiving and tap dancing for people on these jobs, and you can kind of tell when they're trying to pull the rug from under you. They're not treating you. I could go into, like, when I was a massage therapist, and the stuff I had to go through. That was crazy, man. So I'm so glad I got out of that industry. But it was cool. I'm out. I met some great people. I think massage therapists are, the ones that do it legally, of course. They are some of the most amazing, caring people. Management, whew, Lord, yeah. I'll say the city that I'm living in is really demonic, and I stay away from people. I do, unless unless I really have to go out there and mingle with folks, and you have to do what you have to do sometimes. But just for my peace, I know what it is, because I've been there. I've done that, and it's like you get to the point where it's like, the games, you know how to play the game. You go out there and do what you have to do while you have to do it, and until you could get out of there, get what you need, and bounce. So, but you're one. You're one of one. You're cemented. It's like I see you, like, really. It's almost like your name is already in the Walk of Fame. You already, you're moving to, like, that celebrity status where you don't have to wait in line. Your name doesn't have to be on the list. They see you. Oh, hey, we got your table. Blah 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 blah. You know, you know how it goes. And you're moving. You're really and truly. You're moving into that status. I know it's one day at a time. One thing that two things are consistency and patience are your best friends when you're leveling up, and the stuff that you have to go through, the stuff that you have to go through the stuff that you have to go through to get where it is that you naturally to get where it is where you naturally have to go to, because again, a lot, I was talking about this video I saw, this young lady, where she said, she's a believer in God, has faith, but yet she's still going through stuff. And that's how it goes. And I don't know it all, but I know that I know that God is amazing. He's always watching. We always have our angel guides around us. If you believe in your ancestors, that's great. Um, but there's just certain things that we naturally have to go through. Some of it sucks. A lot of it, some of it really does suck. I'm not trying to sit here and complain, but a lot of it, like for real, a lot of it really and truly does suck. It's like the stuff that we have to go through down here, because of your gender, maybe the color of your skin. It's just a lot of stuff is just very much so uncalled for. But a lot of people don't like to call. You'll see somebody with some cards, you know, on the internet, telling people about whatever, and they'll probably legitimately do it. and people are like, oh, that's evil, blah blah. You know what's evil? Racist people. That's evil. You know, but no, nobody. They don't want to talk about that in church. You know, you don't want to talk about the crazy stuff. You know, like I've seen people go to their own bank to get their own money, and the police are called on them because of the color. That's crazy, man. You know, it's like, man. But anyway, you know, to be alive in times like this is is very much so amazing. The stuff that you see, and you know, people gasp and all of that stuff, but like Will Smith said, you know, it's not the fact that this stuff has been going around. It's just the fact that racism now is just being filmed, and now people can see it in real time. You know, like what's really and truly happening and going on out here. This thing here looks like it's like glitching. Let me see something. Yeah, we'll just leave that as it is. So yeah, and you know, some people probably don't care. I'm not trying to be on my, you know, some people don't care about a certain situation or you.
It's 9 o'clock.
Thank you, computer. Some people don't care about a certain situation or you until there and until that whatever comes knock on their door. Then it's unfair. You know the stuff that's happening out here to certain demographics, and we see what's happening out here, and they're like, oh, where are the where are the civil rights moving African Americans that and blah 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 blah. They're going through their own stuff. They're going. They're trying to figure out their own lives now. They're not going to be Captain Saver, and go out there and get beat up by the police, and that's insane. Our ancestors did that already. What did we learn? Like, it's like if somebody says, a little kid is like, uh, "Oh, mommy's in the kitchen," and the mother lets the kid put their hand on the stove and they get burned, and the kid is like, crying and jumping up and down, screaming. It's like, okay, what did we learn? So we're like that little kid. Well, our hands have already been burned on the stove, so we're good. Y'all, y'all have fun. Y'all got it. So, God will always come down and watch over His true chosen children. Really and truly, you're going to start to see some amazing things um, from the let's just say the African American diaspora. A lot of us are figuring out who we truly are in this whole landscape of whatever it is you want to call it. Why are we why we have to keep going through this and this and that and blah 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 blah. But just to circle back around, just to say that you are the one greater. Greater is He that is in me that is in the world. So, and what is it? Um, what profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? Something like that. I gotta start reading my scriptures again. But you're coming back to your Genesis moment. The first book in the Bible. Yeah, the first book. You're coming back to the beginning. A lot of stuff that is encoded, that is written inside of you, um, biblically, scripturally, ancestrally. A lot of this stuff is being, you are the chosen one. That's you. You have been the one that is gifted. A lot of stuff that is inside of you, you'll never find it in books. You'll never find it. It's either hidden or it's been erased from the history books. You will never find this stuff. You'll never find this stuff in history books because greater. You've always had this greatness inside of you. You have always, 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 had this. You've always had this greatness inside of you. people looked at you, they called you a failure, they called you this, a quitter, blah 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 blah. Because certain things, because certain things you tried so much and you tried so hard and came up a little short, but certain people never even tried. They never even tried. They got to live at home and way into their late 30s and 40s. You've been trucking it out here since you're probably some people teens, early 20s, whatever. Just out here, figuring it out. Said, go to school, get your education, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I'm glad I went to the school that I went to the college, because the professors cared, and it was a school of hard knocks, and you really, they say, get it out the mud. You really had to kind of get it like that, and you had to work for it, and I'm appreciative of that, because I know out here you have to work for it. I really understand that, and I wanted to talk about. I think the next time I'm gonna come on here and talk about money and all of that stuff, and you're gonna be greatly blessed financially. Cause I always hear these people, money isn't everything, and and this and that, and people that have it are unhappy. Well, if y'all are that unhappy, give it to the people that truly want it, truly deserve it, that would be smart financially. They would take it, double it, triple it, invest it wisely, help other people. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. They got a lot of gatekeepers out here, like, for real. So it's just interesting how all of this stuff is going to start to flip. How we're seeing certain people falling, and it's almost like I'm getting like when the angels rebelled in heaven and they were kicked out, like literally kicked out. And we go into the Nephilim and all of that stuff, but yeah, it's I see a lot. I see a lot of falling, man. See, a lot of businesses are going to be closing. A lot of people are going to be opening up new businesses. There are a lot of new strategies that you're going to be downloading. You're going to be the one to be running your own this and that. And while you're doing that, you go through these things, so you know how to treat people. Those other folks, they only work. Um, you remember, oh, wow, Mr. Such and Miss Such, they're so cool and blah 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 blah. They give us Christmas cards and stuff, but you really don't know these people. You think you do, but you really don't. But it's just interesting how stuff how stuff is going to start to really, that look like the Elvis Presley song, "Shake, Rattle, and Roll," like, for real. You're coming to the point where it's time for you to roll. Like, seriously, it's time for you to bounce. Time for you to get your stuff together. You need to start thinking globally, internationally. It's time for you to start. There are other people around the globe that are waiting for you, waiting on you. So don't stop. Do not quit. They said, don't stop. Get it. Like, for real. Don't stop. Don't quit. This is not the time to be doing that. This is not the time to, this is not the time to throw in the towel. I used to be a person where I used to come on here and I used to be like, oh man, nobody's watching. Listen, if I have to come on here and talk to myself, then shit, so be it. If this is the way that I'm getting, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Not me, but He who is inside of me. But um, man, you are so spiritually filled. You are, you could feel like you can feel with everything. You can feel football fields, man, stadiums with what you have, with what you have now. You're going to figure it out. The right people are right. There you go. You very much so keep showing up. Sometimes, if you need to take a break, take a break. It's okay. I'm telling you, man. Man, there's a young lady. I think her name is Lindaria Watts. I think her last name is, but she came on the podcast. She's big on social media, very viral and stuff like that. And she preaches about the word, and she just started a new church in Jacksonville. And I'm telling you, very soon, that like when you start something, it's like you wonder like, man, well, I'm here, I'm showing up, like, where is everybody? So like it's like lightning when that it's like when lightning strikes, you see those lines. You ever like, if you scroll through social media, sometimes you'll just see people like lined up around the block for, I don't know, sometimes I don't even stick around to find out why they lined up. Maybe it's a concert, I don't know. But that's how it's going to be for you. Like things, people, you're going to be able to do tours based off of your social media. People, you're going to be like, hey, I'm doing this one city tour, and people are going to be like, well, when are you coming to my city? When are you coming to my city? So you're going to be able to open it up. You're really like, somebody said, keep the doors open. It's like, right, you need those doors open because the floodgates, you're going to have so many. It's going to be an overflow of people out there. Hot, cold, whatever. Those people are going to be there, hungry for, to see you. But it's the blessings that you give. It's really and truly the blessings that you give. It's almost like you're going to be able to start your own fivefold ministry. Like you're going to get there. There's going to be a bidding war. There's going to be a bidding war over you. She said, Lati said, keep the doors open. Right. And I'm getting that, nah, and I'm getting that song. But I said Bruno Mars, I think, where he says, leave the doors open, something like that. I need to listen to that song when I'm done. But that's the thing. Really and truly, you're leaving the doors open because your purpose and your position. We don't know. Sometimes we just don't. How great we are. We some of us can. Some of us are blessed with the gift of prophecy and all of that stuff, and that's cool. Or we can see certain things in dreams, but we don't know it all. Like not everything is going to be sure. If you come to somebody and they're spiritually and they say they know everything, run, because they don't. But anyway, um but you never know when the time and place. You're gonna know, like you're gonna get feelings, you're gonna see signs. Like these are times of signs and wonders. I know it's like it's flooding here and all of that stuff is happening. A lot of, it's like that movie, everything was it everything everywhere all at once. That's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing so many different things. That's why I say, man, this is an amazing time to be alive, because we're seeing, ooh, my goodness, we're seeing all of this stuff. We're seeing all of this stuff happen all at once. And even for you, you're going to start to see all of this stuff happen, for you and your life all at once. And the thing is, it's gonna blow your mind, blow other people's minds. It's gonna catch a lot of people off guard, especially those people who were, present in your life like years ago. It's really gonna catch them off guard. And people, when I say people lining up around the block, people are gonna really and truly start to line up around the block. I feel like Noah. They said Noah preached for 30, 40, 100 years. They said, it's gonna flood, it's gonna flood. And people say, well, it hasn't rained in years, man. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Until that one day it rains. And the doors on that ship close. I've seen those videos where people go on those cruises and they get left behind, boy. You do not want that to happen to you. But it's almost like there's a divine gust of wind blowing that's gonna come and blow. in your life. You know, for a time like this, you're consecrated. Again, we are living in times of signs and wonders and miracles and all of that amazing stuff. And you know, you are. It's I just keep getting greater is He that is in me that is in the world. So you know, you're the blueprint. You're an archetype. You know, you are perfectly positioned for where we are now. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. You know, wherever you're watching this, I'm sitting here multi-streaming. But you know, people might say, you know, I don't know, months from now, well, how's that little blah 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 blah, you know, that you've been doing? I see miracles and wonders every day. Right. You know, I was at my cousin's house last week. Yeah, was it last week? Yeah, like last week. And you know, we were just sitting in his apartment, and he was like, "Man, I've been seeing all of these bird, like it was all these different colored birds were flying in, and we were seeing butterflies. It was like, yeah, it was amazing." And then I told him, I said, you know, I said when people, I said some people believe spiritually when you start to see all these things, you have great changes coming into your life. You got a lot of protection. You know, you do. You have a lot of protection. You know, over your life. So you know, you're one of these ones that you're gonna figure something out sooner than later if you haven't been thinking about it. You know, that's gonna grow. You're gonna go with those ideas, and it's almost um like that Key and Peele skit. And he was like, "Man, this is like lightning in the bottle." He said, "Oh yeah, I got that." And he literally bought the lightning in the bottle, and he opened it up, and it was moving around the room, and he caught it back in the thing. So that's what it, you know, that's what it's naturally like, you know, for you, like just having that lightning in the bottle. Now it's like I used to get these brilliant ideas, and for whatever reason, didn't act on them. You know, when I was younger, then I would see somebody else. It's like, oh man, that's still my idea. It's like, no, they probably just acted on it. Maybe they were in the same situation as you. I heard a story about a young lady. Her and her husband were driving, and she saw this building, and she told her husband, "Hey, you know, stop, you know, go back, go back." And he was like, "Oh no, I don't. Look, we don't have no money for that. Let's stop waste time." So they went, checked the building. So the guy that owned the building, she asked to, you know, "Hey, can we see the building?" He was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, no problem." So he showed it to him, and she was like, "I would love this building, but I don't have any money." And that man was looking at her like, "Are you crazy?" You know, but he said like a few days later, she got a call. The man was like, "Listen, I'm going to give you the building." Um, you know, because he said he or his family came from Cuba. They didn't have anything, and you know, whatever, whatever. That's how he got the building. You know, on faith and all of that stuff. And so he was like, somebody asked her, "How are we gonna get people in here?" She was trying to open like a school or something like that, daycare or school or something like that, some kind of like Christian academy. Long story short, the guy, I believe it was the guy that you know gave her the building. He came back with a big check and was like, you know, "Hey, I think it was like I don't know, 36,000, 28,000, something like that." So yeah, and you know, basically the rest of history. So again, we're living in a times of signs and wonders because if you know, people say, you know, "I decree and I declare," you have to start doing that in your own life over yourself. You know, you if you're a praying somebody, you have to pray over your children every day because we see the monstrous situation. You know, it's not the fact that there's the you know little Scott, the school neighborhood bully that's trying to take your kids' lunch money and their food now. You know, these kids are you know going to these schools like they just came out of a Rambo movie. You know what I'm saying without getting into that. So you need to pray over your you know your kids wherever they go daily. If they just going or wherever, you know. So those things that we used to do back in the day, sleepovers and stuff, and we could trust our neighbors, and you know, those times are really over. You know, unfortunately. So you know, but anyway, you need to really, you should start speaking greatness over your life. This is in preparation of all of the amazing things that, you have yet to come. And all of this, all of this stuff, we really and truly have to be in alignment. So we are talking about that, you are the one, you are the person. Just like, I'm proud of myself for getting up and going to work out, you know, and I'm seeing the results, and I'm happy with that, and I'm gonna keep that going. Same thing with social media, my podcast, all of that stuff. So when I restarted it, I was like, man, how in the world? I mean, I wasn't thinking that nobody was gonna show up. I was like, well, but you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. That's just what it is. You swing sometimes, you're gonna miss, but what did that guy say in that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street? He said, don't judge me. Um, he said, don't judge me by my wins, but judge me by my losses because I had so few. So so just let that what's that? Oh, I don't know. Let that let that just let that set in your spirit, man. Because there are even when you have like these down days, and people don't call like they used to, that's probably a great thing. I don't know what those folks. I remember a few weeks or months ago, I tried to check on one of my cousins from back home, and I don't know, he texted me something like he was freaking out, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that again for a while. Next time I see him, I'll just kind of go down there, and but you don't know where people's mind. People, a lot of folks don't have what you have. They don't have that spiritual IQ, discernment, all that stuff. They don't have your prayer life. This is the season where things flipped and shift, and where you're being lifted up and raised up, and this is your time. You can look at them and be like, they had their time to shine, and maybe when they were a little younger in high school and all that stuff, and they could think back and look at the good old days. Your good old days are in your days of happiness and peace and prosperity are in the now, moving forward. And I'm not just here talking about, oh, you're gonna, not just here just talking about material stuff that and it's gonna be a lot of that. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna be a lot of that. You're going to be able, do a lot of great things and enjoy the fruits of your labor. You're really, and you are like there's no tomorrow, but we know that it's greater than that. In the underlying sequences we have, there are people that are waiting for us, that have been waiting on us for a while now. Like people out here that are like really hanging on by a thread. We have to, put our capes on and go out there and, you know, help do our best, to try to give these people something, a word, your talent, and you're gonna, sometimes you may feel like, man, I don't even have time to breathe. Well, you can find time to do that, and you had time to do that before all of that stuff happened. You gotta remember, this is what uh, it's gonna be greater than what you're asking for. That's why all of the trials, the preparation, and all of the stuff that you have been going to, to make it make sense. Somebody's about to get a loan, or some I don't know. There's something coming in for a lot of you, a mysterious phone call or something that you've been waiting for a while. There's something that you have been. Um, uh, there's something that you have been. There's something that you've been waiting on for a while, man. Really and truly, and that's something is in the atmosphere, because you can feel the atmosphere shifting around you, and it may. What did it say? Take you aback. I guess that's that kind of term, the phrase, where you're looking around and it's like, something feels different. Something feels a little off, not in a bad way, It's like things are starting to change around you, and you're waking up. You can see, you can feel these changes. Because you are, now you're. It's almost like it's almost like you remember walking down the street that's not there anymore. You're having these supernatural deja vu experiences. It's like, well, I remember a time when I was 16 and I was going home and I was walking down the street and I don't know, reading a magazine or whatever, and I was looking around and I was like, I don't, this doesn't look. I don't know. It was just something about the street. It looked kind of familiar, but it was. You find these stories. Now I'm happy because it's like I'm not the only one out here talking about this stuff. Like all the supernatural stuff and whatever. Be it if you're going down that that whatever road. It's divine, supernatural. All of that stuff. But everything in your, it's like that. I said, like that movie, everything everywhere all at once. It's like everything around you is shifting, everything around you is changing. You can't pay attention to everything because you don't want to. No. Seriously. But you're focused on the roads or road that's laid in front of you. You have these angels that are laying stuff, laying the foundation, the formation, your ancestors, all of that. You got all of that, inside you, around you, that's working on your behalf. I'm telling you, something is coming in very soon. Probably for a lot of you over the summer in the months of probably July and probably July, August, maybe going into September. Something that's going to really get you shifted on that righteous path that you truly need to be in. Like total makeover for your life. You know how you see these people go out there with their cameras and they're like, oh, there's a homeless person. I'm going to grab them and get their hair cut and get them a new suit, give them some money. It's like this. It's like you're going through a supernatural like makeover. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Right. It's a total makeover. It's a total shift. Some of y'all are gonna be sitting with heads of state, CEOs, and all of this stuff, man, and um, they're gonna be they're gonna be very, very, very happy to see you and all that good stuff. Let me plug these books. Yeah, so just to let y'all know, myself and Miss CJ Inspires, we're authors. So this is if you are still dreaming the impossible. This book is entitled "Dream the Impossible." My personal memoir, "Little Girls Who Dream and Become Women with Vision." So this is available at tjinspires.com. This book here, Princess Destiny, is also available at tjinspires.com. So, go get your books. What's about it? Yes, I'm an author. I am a very much a creative minded individual, and, but yeah. So, yeah, man. So just, don't, what I'm saying is for you, don't this, it'll be a tragedy for you right now to throw in the towel. Like, for real. It would be a tragedy for you to, throw in the towel. Some of y'all are going through this stuff for the first time, but it feels like you've kind of been down these roads before because you have help. You got a lot of you got help, and oh you got help, and you got a lot of your, let's just say, your spiritual team, as people like to say, doing a lot of the heavy lifting. They're doing a lot. I mean, they are doing a lot. I know sometimes you're like, oh man, I gotta go through this and this is happening and blah 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 blah. So, the next time that person tries to come back into your life, make the right decision, and that door needs to be closed. And that door never needs to be opened again. Especially if y'all don't have anything connecting y'all. You don't know kids, no whatever. That door needs to be shut. Be it whoever, if it's a family, whoever it was, or that door needs to be closed, bolted. I don't know, like for real, that thing needs to be buried. I don't know, 200 feet underneath the earth, so you never have to think about it ever again. Whatever that was, that was majorly holding you up, and you do not. Will, well, Will Smith said in that movie, he was like, no, you do not do that. We are not doing that ever again. So nah, man. I hope you've learned from that lesson. Oh, maybe it'll be different this time. No, it won't. It's just gonna be worse. So like, what is Johnny coming back to? No, you don't want Johnny to come back. You're on a global stage. You got global implications working around it in your life right now. It's not time for you to worry about Johnny or whoever. Don't. Not saying hate him. I'm not saying hate him, but you've got greater things that are coming perceiving you proceeding you got new friends, man. Now when did you ever think that you were going to meet these people, the new people that are coming in, that are on your level, that are that are on your level, that are higher, and all of that good stuff? Cool. And what is this called? Cool. So yeah, we have a new trivia card game coming out as well. We'll talk more about this later. So, but it's this is not fly by night. This is not by any happenstance or circumstances or anything like that, man. You you're moving to a new rhythm because you got a greater and a bigger dance that you need to get to. I think last time I was talking about the Cinderella effect with the slippers and all of that stuff. So you got, just to say the symbolism, you got major transformations that are happening, that have happened, that will continue to be happening. Somebody's got a meeting with the CEO of some kind of company coming soon. I really don't like getting those questions when someone is coming back, why they are supposed to be gone. Right. If yeah, because I used to come on here and do answer those questions and stuff, people in relationships. Man, look, if that person is gone, let them stay gone. Don't you? You walked out. You walked out for a reason. For a reason. So and there you go with that. You'll figure it out. And it's been, what, and the beautiful part about it, a lot of it is being figured out. A lot of it is really and truly. Why do I keep getting these cards? Yeah, so we got these cards coming out. It's an amazing trivia game. It's by Miss TJ Inspires and but we'll put this on the market soon. Um, it's almost it's almost like you ever see those magicians? It's like a slider. They're doing their card tricks, and well, I don't have any cards, but they they're doing their card tricks, and they're like, pick a card, and thank you. They're doing like, pick a card, and you pick a card, you put in a thing, and I don't know, some kind of way the card ends up in your shoe or your back pocket or a brick on the wall. It's gonna be like that. But this is real, like supernatural. Taking what was, bringing forth something greater, from the supernatural to the natural, for you, in your life, for a time, for a time like this. It's almost like somebody's hitting the button saying now, like now, like right now. So yeah, yeah. So just be expecting the greater news, the greatest news any day now. There was a young lady, I saw a video. She said that at the end of her prayers now, she says she asks God, like, show me how good. She said something about show me how good it can be, or something like that. And I changed that word from good to great. So I'm telling you, man, you have to be bold out here. You have to be bold in your manifestations and how you're putting them out there, and all and all of that stuff. You could get some cool tips off of social media. I mean, look, I mean, some of the, I'll get it, I'll remix it, to fit whatever you need, in your life. But you got to be bold, man, out here. You have got to be bold, and how you're moving, what you're asking for. Not saying don't ask for wisdom. Of course, ask for wisdom for the stuff that's coming, because you're getting. It's almost like you're getting a whole surplus in a warehouse. You're like, okay, cool. I want to start doing the drop shipping, and I want to get some products, and somebody just like, okay, well, you know what? We got an extra whatever, and you pull up, and there's a big old warehouse. Then you have to, hire people and get a whole, like, a real team together and equipment. You will, and your mouth is just gonna be like, what in the world? Just dropping to your knees and thankfulness, man. I'm telling you, it's the overseas markets are gonna be very, very, very. They're gonna be very. What's the word? They're gonna be great and amazing for you. I'll just say that. But anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna leave that at that. Sitting here running my mouth. But happy Wednesday, hump day out there to everyone, and go ahead and shut these things down. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to don't forget to subscribe. But don't forget to got some amazing things coming up very, very, very soon. So yeah, and happy early July to everyone out there. A new hot month is upon us, right? Like literally. But all right, y'all. As always, I'm out this piece. Peace. Let's see.